You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Kansas firefighters honor 9/11 first responders.
We are hot and dry throughout the 4 states, at least for Monday, but by the time we get to the middle of the week, future tracks won't feed us some rain. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, Pittsburgh students stage a cabaret with a twist. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A routine traffic stop in southeast Kansas leads to the arrest of 4 people, including one wanted for first-degree murder of an infant. Just before 11 Saturday night, Caney police stopped a vehicle near the intersection of Vine and Taylor Street in Caney for displaying a paper tag that was unreadable. Police arrested all 4 occupants. Police discovered 28-year-old Angelique Moore of Altoona had an active warrant for first-degree murder out of Montgomery County. Warrant stems from an incident in March of this year when prosecutors say Moore murdered a 2-month-old infant. She's also charged with possession of drugs and intent to use those drugs. The other 3 occupants were arrested as well on various charges. Police arrested Donald Bruton for driving with a non-registered vehicle, no insurance, and an open container. Ryan Banning had outstanding warrants from Neosho County, and police arrested Elizabeth Moore for possession of marijuana, meth, and drug paraphernalia. On Saturday, firefighters in Parsons, Kansas honored first responders who lost their lives on 9/11. They did it by climbing the stairs of the Belmont Tower, which symbolized the heroic efforts made by firefighters who were still working to save as many lives as they could when the towers of the World Trade Center came toppling down. As they made their climb, the Belmont Tower walls were plastered with photos of the 343 firefighters who lost their lives during the attacks. The climb was meant to be exhausting, but the participants say they got the extra push needed to complete the mission when seeing the photos of their fallen comrades.
Experience, and even people who did it very easily, it builds character for them, gives them kind of mentality to not give up.
Firefighters climbed the tower's 7 floors 15 times and then made one final trip to the 5th floor, representing the 110 floors of the World Trade Center. Ribbon cutting on Friday marked the completion of a trail connecting Missouri Southern with the movie theater and shopping areas at North Park Mall. The approximately 1 mile out and back trail includes a pedestrian bridge over Turkey Creek, making it possible for students who don't drive to easily access food, shopping, and other entertainment options.
Because it's going to benefit our students, it's going to benefit the citizens of Joplin. Now that our students, they can, without the use of a vehicle, they can walk or bike from our campus across the creek to go to restaurants, to the mall, to the movies, and it's a much safer area to walk. The
city oversaw the trail and bridge construction, with MSSU providing and installing lighting along the trail. Pittsburgh High School theater students host a cabaret performance of various show tunes. As KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky shows us, this show had a gender-swapping twist.
Pittsburgh High School theater students put on a cabaret to raise funds for their theater program, although it wasn't a typical cabaret.
For years, we've done a cabaret, which a cabaret is, it doesn't have a synopsis, it's not a story. It's just people pick out songs that they want to do, and they get to come on and showcase themselves. We've done cabarets before. They're fundraisers for KTF, which is Kansas Thespian Festival, and ITF, which is International Thespian Festival.
This Sunday's theme had a gender-bent twist.
Basically, a typical female performing person would perform a male song, and the opposite, and so. Just however somebody identifies, if they get to do a song that typically they wouldn't get to perform on stage, this is their opportunity to do that.
Actors that took part say singing songs from the opposite gender's perspective was an opportunity to expand on their musical and theatrical abilities.
It's very interesting. You have to look at vocal range. You have to look up, oh, do I sing this in the original key? Do I take it up the octave? Do I go somewhere in the middle? And especially with this cabaret, I had a really hard time finding a song.
It gave students the opportunity to sing songs that they may have always wanted to sing, but never had the opportunity to.
Come Back is a song from a male's perspective. And so typically I wouldn't be able to sing that song, but that song's in my range and I love that song, so I got the chance to perform that finally.
Most importantly, it allowed students to get out of their comfort zones, which is what theater's all about. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Pittsburgh High School Theater Troupe will also be performing at the Kansas Thespian Festival. All funds raised from this cabaret will help pay for students to compete.
Wonderful to see that program thriving after the loss of the late, great Greg Shaw. And special thank you to all of you who continue to keep that program top notch as well.
Most definitely.
Right. Skywatch Storm Tracker and Daily Almanac on this September 13th. Tanya and I were marveling at what happened in 1902. Not so much 2011. We had a string of records from 2011 last week, but how about 1902? I got choked up on that. I'm still getting choked up. It got down to 39 degrees. Like I said, we're marveling, saying it must have been the Ice Age back then. Current conditions over Joplin, a very comfortable 65 degrees. We are going to see that wind increase for the third consecutive day out of the south. Temperatures ranging anywhere right now from Pittsburgh hanging on to 60. Neosho, now our warm spot, all the way up to 68. Chanute at 67. Miami at 61. As the wind rolls in, the majority of the higher wind staying out to our west and northwest right now. It will kind of creep in, though, as we progress through Monday. Skywatch Storm Tracker, clean and clear. Whole bunch of sunshine throughout the entire Midwest. Jet stream has really flattened out compared to what we had last week. We had a cutoff low over the Four Corners. We had a big ridge over us that fed us warm weekend temperatures, and now that thing pretty much just runs due west to east. Our weather trend for today going to warm up into the 90s for the afternoon hours between about 3:30, 5 o'clock. That is going to be our peak heating time. While we're dry for today, we are going to see some rain activity this week. We'll begin Tuesday night. Top left-hand portion of your screen, it begins to bubble up there, and when it does roll through, we are going to see some thunder, lightning, and heavy rain for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Now, while I was talking about the top left, I don't want to ignore what's happening south of I-44 from Tropical Storm Nicholas, because that's going to kind of give us double-barreled action right there. And then in the central portion of the four states, you kind of get spotty showers for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Cold front comes down in, drops us into the mid-80s, right back into the 90s by the time we get to the weekend.
All right. Gonna be hot again.
1902 still got me choked up over here. That it was either that or the coffee went down the wrong tube.
Well, you didn't tell me how the phone conversation went, so you checked in.
You got now you got to fill everybody in. You can't. It's like it's an old radio thing. You got to.
So apparently, Mother Nature and I have a little beef because we're lingering with these hot temperatures too long into September. Michael doesn't want to be stuck in the middle.
I don't want to be stuck in the middle of the I have a limited number of women in my lives. One of those is Tanya. One of those is also Mother Nature. So I got the wise one tapping me on the shoulder saying, Michael, be quiet. I got Mother Nature calling me saying, you need to tell Tanya to back off.
I'm the wise one. Thank you.
Whoa.
You just called me that.
No, I said I have the wise one tapping me on the shoulder saying, Michael, stay out of it. I have Mother Nature calling me on the phone. I have you wanting to beef with Mother Nature.
Who's the wise one?
Oh, come on. Come on.
That should be me.
Come
Just
on
saying.
now.
Anyway, up next, the battle over the president's vaccine mandate and training Roomba to do more than just vacuum. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. A new study from the CDC shows unvaccinated people are 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19, and they're 10 times more likely to be hospitalized than people who received the shots. Study also shows unvaccinated people are more likely to get infected in the first place. The research looks at 600,000 cases from April into July. More than 75 million Americans eligible to be vaccinated still are not. The president says he is prepared for a fight after proposing sweeping new vaccine mandates that are likely to affect more than 100 million U.S. workers. Some Republican governors and lawmakers have called the new actions un-American and are threatening to sue. Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
Have at it. That's President Biden's message to the growing number of Republicans threatening legal action as his administration drafts a new rule requiring companies with more than 100 employees to mandate the COVID vaccine or weekly testing.
When you have a president like Biden issuing unconstitutional edicts against the American people, we have a responsibility to stand up for the Constitution and to fight back.
The White House COVID response team says it expects the new OSHA rule to be finalized in the coming weeks.
Enforcement actions can include fines up to $13,600 per violation.
The president's new plan to tackle the pandemic also includes a vaccine mandate for federal executive branch workers and contractors, as well as for Head Start and federal school employees. It comes as the CDC touts new studies on the effectiveness of the vaccine.
Those who were unvaccinated were about 4.5 times more likely to get COVID-19, over 10 times more likely to be hospitalized, and 11 times more likely to die from the disease.
President Biden is calling on large entertainment venues to require proof of vaccination, and he wants states to mandate the vaccine for school employees. During a visit with the First Lady to a Washington, D.C. middle school, President Biden pushed mask wearing, vowed to expand testing options, and made this offer.
Once you all get vaccinated, you're invited to a special visit at the White House.
This week, the Los Angeles Unified School District became the first to mandate students 12 and older be vaccinated for in-person learning. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The new rules mandate most federal employees and contractors be vaccinated, as well as employees at any health facilities that receive funds from Medicare and Medicaid. Miami's International Airport becomes the first to use dogs who can smell the coronavirus. The 2 dogs are part of a pilot program to detect the presence of COVID-19 in face coverings. The dogs are trained to detect the virus's presence in sweat, breath, and scent. This program helps airports check in with their employees who will have to take a rapid coronavirus test if the dogs find something. Both canines have accurate noses with confirmed detection rates above 98%.
And once again, I do feel, and yes, folks, I'm doing this tongue-in-cheek, I feel sorry for the dogs because now working at an airport in Miami, oh yeah, you are trained to sniff out a lot of things.
I've had a couple of experiences at the airport, the Miami International Airport, and they may have been with some not so nice TSA agents.
The nice thing is I know you weren't smuggling in anything.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. The dogs in Miami they're like, gosh, we got to find COVID too. You've been training us forever to find white powdery substances.
I will say though, if you're trying to transport bottles of sand, make sure there's no water in there with the sand, especially if the bottles are in the shape of something round.
Make sure it's not white sand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh. Took a long time to get through that checkpoint.
Oh. Okay, remember, folks, we're talking about Miami, Florida. This is Miami, Florida, not our Miami. Miami, Florida. My goodness. Okay, I think we've ripped on that poor city enough. Our high temperatures for the past 10 days, we had that string. We get like back-to-back days of 90s and then we get interrupted. But our September average high, I wanted to point out this, 90.5 degrees. That is about 4.7 degrees higher than what we would anticipate through the first 13 days of September. So yes, it has been an abnormally warm September. And we're going to continue that trend for Monday and Tuesday. Now, Wednesday of 84, that's seasonable. That's where we should be. And remember, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning is when we pick up thunderstorm activity. But then we're right back into the high 80s and low 90s for the weekend. We'll be back right after this. All right, it's a big advance in the robotic vacuum cleaner that took years of research. We've all remember the Roomba. Well, evidently it's learned how to avoid any pet surprises left on the floor, and Jeannie Moose, she gives us the scoop.
It's a robot vacuum cleaner's nightmare.
Hey, accidents happen.
But who wants to run over an accident? This diagram was how one puppy owner portrayed the poop-tastrophe that befell his home when his Roomba ran over his pup Evie's accident, resulting in a home that closely resembles a Jackson Pollock poop painting. But now, iRobot's new Roomba solves the poopocalypse problem. The Roomba is now able
to both identify and avoid. Number 2.
Oh sure, it can also now recognize and avoid things like cords, but training the Roomba to ID pet waste was harder.
We built over 100 physical models of poop. We trained our algorithms on over 100,000 images.
Employees used Play-Doh to make reproductions.
Everyone with a dog at iRobot has been asked to take pictures of the pet waste.
From Roomba's angle, so the robot would learn what to avoid. They considered other methods like smell detection, but computer vision was what worked. The J7 Plus sells for from $650 to $850. It is backed by the Pet Owner Official Promise, acronym POOP. iRobot will replace any Roomba J7 Plus that doesn't avoid solid pet waste. What the company's CEO tries to avoid is being too earthy, describing the breakthrough.
Interacting with your dog's number two, avoiding presence from your pet. Now tell me again about that poop avoidance thing.
When it comes to making a mess, it's almost as if the Roomba itself has been housebroken. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
All right, you would think that the perfect Roomba would be able just to clean it up, and that way you get home and your carpet's just immaculate. That would be ideal, it seems to me. Be back right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero. First Sergeant David Parks from Lamar, Missouri. He served in Iraq from 2004 to 2005. Parks was awarded the Bronze Star and the Meritorious Service Medal. We thank you, Sergeant David Parks, our four-state hero. Heaviness set over the St. Charles County community as people made their way inside the Baugh Funeral Home on Saturday to honor fallen service member Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Gabriella Vidal has that story.
Heavy. It's very, very heavy on our hearts.
Heaviness set over the St. Charles County community as people made their way inside Bowie Funeral Home.
We're paying our respects to a young man that died for our country, as we should, and everybody should.
Elected leaders, loved ones, and people who didn't know Jared Schmidt paid their respects to his mother and father during the 7-hour visitation.
The one thing I said is I don't know what to say to you. What do you say to somebody that their entire life has just been dismantled and now they're expected to move on?
Lawrence Danielson and his wife say they can relate to the family's pain as a family of multiple members in the military, but also know how lucky they are to have seen their children come home after serving.
It's a closeness that I don't think anybody can really understand unless you've served yourself. I had 3 sons in the service, one in Iraq, one in Desert Storm, one in Persian Gulf. So with me being in the Vietnam era, I feel very proud to be part of it.
Jeff Hirsch with the St. Louis Patriot Guard says despite leading thousands of remembrances for fallen service members, the sadness doesn't get any easier, especially on 9/11.
It's probably hitting us all the same. It's a very emotional day for the United States. This on top of it with Jared, it's very difficult today. It's a lot of emotions throughout.
Hirsch says while Jared's passing has hit the community hard, it's also brought so much patriotism and love around this Gold Star family.
I've never seen anything like it. I've done well over 1,000 missions, and the outpouring of support Wednesday was just outstanding. I've never seen anything like it, so I applaud St. Louis for coming out for this young man.
In St. Charles,
So we'll honor them for the rest of time.
Private funeral for Jared Schmitz will be held on Thursday, and he will be buried at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Pittsburgh State University holds its own 9/11 ceremony. And the latest poll says most Americans want to see less U.S. involvement overseas. We want to know what you think. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Within 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Firefighters in Parsons, Kansas gather at Belmont Tower for a stair climb on Saturday in honor of the 343 firefighters who lost their lives on 9/11. KOAM's Mike Mahoney was there and has the story.
For firefighters in the Parsons, Kansas area, repeatedly climbing the 7 floors of Belmont Tower in honor of those who lost their lives on 9/11 was both tiring and inspiring.
Didn't know really how hard it was going to be or what to expect, but done and feel good, and feels pretty good knowing that you did it.
Throughout the morning, they climbed the tower's 7 floors 15 times before making one last trip to the 5th floor. That represents the 110 floors of the World Trade Center, but it wasn't the only reminder. As they made their trek, they were inspired to push forward by photos of the 343 firefighters who made the ultimate sacrifice on 9/11.
As it starts to become tiresome, I think that's where you start to use that for motivation, knowing that they didn't have another option, they didn't get to quit, they knew what they were getting into, and that was all what they signed up for.
As each firefighter completed the climb, they participated in the ringing of the fire bell, and then read aloud some of the names of the fallen first responders of September 11th, demonstrating that while those New York heroes may not be with us, they are not forgotten.
I would ask that on this day that everybody remembers what it truly meant and never forget.
In Parsons, Kansas, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Well, Saturday's Memorial Stair Climb in Parsons also raised money for the Jedhead Memorial Scholarship Program. Pittsburgh State University held its own 9/11 tribute at Carney Smith Stadium. Cadets took turns reading the names of the 2,977 killed in the attacks, including an additional 65 who died from injuries. They also fired a cannon 4 times, one for each plane that crashed.
We're going to fire the cannon to memorialize the when the towers were hit, and also the Pentagon getting hit, and then the crash of Flight 93 that the passengers so courageously took down to prevent more loss of life.
The lieutenant colonel says they take part in this every year to educate those on Pitt State's campus who may be too young to remember 9/11. Charlie 22 Outdoors, a veteran ministry with a mission to spread its word through the outdoors, hosted an event to remember 9/11 on Saturday. The day started with a ceremony honoring those lost, as well as a prayer honoring the times that the planes crashed. Many veterans came out to their event as well to commemorate 20 years since America was attacked.
So we decided a year ago to make this a special day to honor those this morning that were lost that day, and to celebrate those this afternoon that answered the call, first responders and military both.
It's a day of our American history, and nobody needs to forget this day. This day should be not so much of a holiday like the 4th of July, but a day that we set aside to remember those that gave their lives.
Many veterans at the event say their anxiety jumped following events in Kabul, which is one reason why the organization wanted to ensure they were shown appreciation at the event. Well, an Afton, Oklahoma man is dead following a crash in Ottawa County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says a car driven by 21-year-old Devin Wilson was heading northbound on County Road 550 when it hit loose gravel on a curve, left the roadway, and struck a tree. Wilson was pronounced dead at the scene. Pittsburgh High School Theater Troupe hosted a gender swap cabaret. Students performed numbers from Broadway shows, but did songs sung by the opposite gender. Songs from musicals like Hamilton, The Lion King, and Newsies made appearances. And according to the high school drama club president, this cabaret helped the young actors expand on their acting, singing, and overall performance skills.
Any performance opportunity, it expands your ability. I have gotten the chance to perform more often than most people. Pittsburgh, we get more opportunities to do shows than most high schools do.
Pittsburgh High School Theater Troupe will also be performing at the Kansas Thespian Festival. All funds raised from this cabaret will help pay for students to compete. Well, check out this cat who gets to keep all 9 of its lives, thanks to some football fans' quick thinking there. The cat somehow got over the ledge at the upper deck at the University of Miami game with Appalachian State at Hard Rock Stadium there. Well, he couldn't hold on. 2 fans using an American flag as a rescue net helped break some of the cat's fall. The cat bounced a bit off the flag and into the student section. He was okay. Reportedly unhurt from the incident. Stadium security soon carried the cat away.
So I wanted to tie this into the cabaret performance when you were talking about the musical acts that PHS performed. After the cat, and folks, I want you to know the cat was absolutely fine. So it bounced off the flag into the student section, and one of the students picked it up and held it up like Simba.
Yes.
It was great. I mean, honestly, all we were missing was Elton John behind us singing when they picked up the cat.
It was either going to be that or a reference to the musical Cats. So either way.
There were so many things at play there. It was a college football Saturday. It was the anniversary of 9/11, where there were it was communal. There were people that were back together. We're coming off of a pandemic. We're remembering and honoring 9/11. The cat is essentially saved by an American flag. And
Still doesn't explain why there was a cat at the stadium.
have you ever been to Hard Rock Stadium?
No.
The cat is the least of your worries. Once again, I am ripping on Miami, Florida today, aren't I?
Well, the cat stayed
that
away from the airport because the sniffing dogs were there.
The fact that there's just a cat in the stadium, trust me, that is the least of your worries at Hard Rock. We'll be back right after this. Let's get to the KOAM News Now Facebook question, but speaking of, Facebook is promising to help out women in minority-owned businesses as the company announced its plans to put $100 million towards helping small business owners. Facebook's going to buy outstanding invoices and use Facebook Invoice Fast Track to pay small businesses in a matter of days. To apply, businesses submit outstanding invoices that reach a minimum of $1,000. Facebook's Vice President of Small Business, one heck of a title, estimates the $100 million could help out around 30,000 businesses with those outstanding invoices. On to our Facebook question. President Biden once again defending the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, and while many Americans think it was time to get out, not everyone agrees. Christina Ruffini with more on President Biden's latest comments from the White House.
Can Al-Qaeda come back? Yeah, but guess what? It's already back other places. What's the strategy? Every place where Al-Qaeda is, we're going to invade and have troops stay there? Come on.
Speaking to reporters in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the crash site of one of the planes hijacked on 9/11, President Biden defended the U.S. withdrawal from the place that once harbored the terrorists.
70% of American people think it was time to get out, but the flip of it is they didn't like the way we got out.
With the failure of America's nation-building effort in Afghanistan now self-evident, a CBS News poll finds the majority of Americans oppose using the U.S. military to create democracies and want the U.S. to intervene less overseas. But former acting CIA Director Michael Morrell says not having a presence in Afghanistan puts America at greater risk.
You have safe haven in Afghanistan that you really can't have anywhere else because you're being harbored now by the Taliban. And Afghanistan's a big place. It's tough to get to. It's tough to find partners.
And tomorrow, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken will appear on the Hill to answer what are sure to be some pointed questions from lawmakers on the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Christina Ruffini, CBS News, the White House.
Our Instapoll question, do you oppose using the U.S. military to create democracies? It's been overwhelming all morning anywhere. High 80s, low 90s, 89% of you right now saying, yes, you do oppose that. Of course, you can take part each and every morning by going to koamnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this.
TSA says it will start doubling fines for people who refuse to wear masks on airplanes, trains, and other forms of public transportation. First-time offenders will face a potential fine of up to $1,000. People who break the mandate for a second time could face a penalty up to $3,000. Federal regulators hit Wells Fargo with another fine. The financial institution must pay $250 million for failing to move fast enough to compensate its victims. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency says the bank engaged in unsafe or unsound practices tied to its loan modification program and violated the terms of a 2018 consent order. The bank admitted to widespread customer abuse, which included forcing customers to pay unnecessary fees and opening millions of fake accounts. The bank agreed to pay restitution to customers as part of a $1 billion settlement, but the OCC says it's not happening fast enough. In addition to the fine, the OCC is restricting Wells Fargo's mortgage business until it can deal with its problems. The pandemic created supply chain shortages throughout the economy, and while some businesses have returned to normal, the auto industry continues to struggle. Anthony Pura reports.
This Northern California Toyota dealership only has a small number of new cars in the main lot, and a secondary lot is completely empty.
So in a normal year, this lot, it'd be filled brim to brim with about 200 to 250 cars.
It's a nationwide problem. CarGurus.com says a measure of available new vehicles dropped more than 13% in August compared to July and is down 64% from this time last year.
There was a lot of hope going into August that we might start to see somewhat of a turnaround. Unfortunately, that has not materialized.
CarGurus' Kevin Roberts says the microchip shortage that started last year continues to plague the auto industry. Without them, companies cannot build today's high-tech vehicles. It appeared things were improving, but then the COVID Delta variant shut down some chip production in Asia. Car makers are being forced to temporarily idle factories because of it. General Motors, Ford, and Kia are the latest to do so. Karen Pratt was able to get a new car. That's because she ordered it 2 months ago.
I would have liked to have been able to test drive one, but they just didn't happen.
The lack of new cars has also created a shortage of used vehicles, and prices continue to rise.
So what's this mean for consumers?
What this means for consumers is that it's going to be a challenging market for the foreseeable future.
Is there an end in sight?
The end is expected to come sometime in 2022.
Robert says it could be mid to late next year until things start to return to normal. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The car shortage is especially bad news for victims of Hurricane Ida, who lost their vehicles to flooding. Well, get ready to see some new items on the menu at Burger King. The chain says it is getting rid of 120 artificial ingredients to serve. Instead, what it's calling Keep It Real meals. Burger King says the change is permanent and is an effort to deliver, quote, real food to customers. Company says about 90% of the Keep It Real meals will be free of colors, flavors, and preservatives from artificial sources. Some celebrities are collaborating with Burger King to get the word out with special selections. That includes rapper Nelly, whose real name will be used for the Cornell Haynes Jr. meal. Well, hourly employees at Amazon can go to college on the company's dime. The offer is available to 750,000 workers as long as they've been with the company for 90 days. Amazon's new program will also fund educational advancement, including high school diploma and GEDs. Follows similar moves by Walmart and Target. We'll be right back with more after this. First, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
It made me feel.
Fox's hit show Lego Masters getting ready to wrap up season 2. Our good friend Ashley Dvorkin spoke with the show's resident brickmasters to bring us a preview of what's in store as the remaining teams seek that grand prize.
The final challenge is the biggest one yet.
3 duos build their way to Lego stardom on the season finale of Lego Masters.
To end on this finale where it's the 3 teams of brothers, we couldn't have possibly predicted that. But what are the chances they're also the most competitive ones of the entire round?
This build really, really excites me. Brickmasters Amy Corbett and Jamie Berard have a blast watching teams make their imaginative creations. And for this last challenge, it's anything goes.
What's in store for them, including the amount of time that they get? How do you think that can help them? But can it also maybe hinder them in some ways because they have an abundance of time now?
So they have 24 hours, which is the longest challenge of the season by far, and they can build absolutely anything they want. When you have 24 hours, you can get a little bit too relaxed at points or think, I don't have to really fix my idea.
This isn't a regular finale.
We added an additional layer, which is really fun, which is that this has to have a duality, has to have an extra story of coming to life at night.
Winners take $100,000 and the Lego Masters title.
They're going for the money, they're going for a grand prize, but they are going for that title.
Exactly, as you said it, we've got these 3 teams of brothers, and of course it's great to win the money, but all of them just want it so bad because they want that title.
When you see the talent that's been around you this whole time, and you see what you're up against, to be able to then stand just enough above that you become those Lego Masters has got to be immensely satisfying.
Blow us away with your master build.
The Lego Masters Season 2 finale airs September 14th on Fox. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Forgive my ignorance. I was just enamored by the painting that was behind that couple that was being interviewed there in their home. It looked like Lee Iacocca. I'm not sure. If anybody's familiar with that painting, let me know. I thought that was just really cool. Let's take a live look over 7th and Rangeline. Painting got me all choked up. High temperatures so far for September. You'll see that 90.5. That's a good 4.7 degrees above average for this time of year, and we're already 13 days into the month. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline, 65 degrees in Joplin right now. We are going to see that wind begin to pick up as we range anywhere from about 60 to 66 degrees. Wind. The majority of the high winds right now are staying off to our west. See that Wichita, Salina, they're already in double digits, and that's not gusting, that's sustained. But now we're seeing Chinook push up to 10 miles per hour, so eventually we're going to work out to about 10 to 15, and also to have some 20 mile per hour gusts. Reasonably cooler than what we started off on our Sunday morning. Look at Girard. 9-degree difference, in Fort Scott an 8-degree difference. Lamar 6 degrees cooler. Sunny skies is what we're going to have all day long as the jet stream is just completely flattened out from what we had last week. We do have Nicholas. That is a tropical storm right now. This is pretty early in the Atlantic Basin to already get to number 14 as far as our named storms. We started off really slow, and they've got hurricane watches and warnings along the Texas coast. So while it's a tropical storm, they have gone ahead and issued hurricane warnings all the way up through Houston, almost to the Texas-Louisiana state line right there. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Our afternoon planner up into the 90s, once again, overnight lows. Only back down to the low 70s and high 60s. Future track is going to feed us some rain. We're going to have to wait until Tuesday night. Top hand corner and bottom hand corner is what we'll have. So we've got Nicholas feeding us Gulf moisture, then we've got a cold front moving in from the northwest. That will provide moments of heavy rain for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, along with thunder and lightning. Gets more sporadic for the central portion of the 4 states. It will do is cool us down. Wednesday is going to be seasonable, 84 degrees. It's a one-shot deal, however. We're going to rise right back up into the high 80s and then ride mid-90s over the weekend. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. North Korea's state media says the country test-fired what it calls a newly developed long-range cruise missile over the weekend. The report says test missiles hit targets 932 miles away. North Korea is barred from testing ballistic missiles, but cruise missiles are not subject to international sanctions. An explosion collapsed part of an apartment building near Atlanta, making the 3-story complex in the suburb of Dunwoody unstable. At least one person was rushed to the hospital with injuries. Police said the cause of the explosion is under investigation. And Daniil Medvedev won the U.S. Open men's final in New York on Sunday. Medvedev beat Novak Djokovic, who lost his chance of winning all 4 Grand Slam single titles in a single year. Rod Laver was the last man to do that in 1969.
And where Joker was exhausted. That semifinal that he played to get to the final lasted 4.5 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, it would have been great to see him do it. Look, it's going to be hot and sunny today. All right, we'll get rain. We'll get rain Tuesday night and Wednesday. It would have been great to see Joker do it. You know, what we kind of called a tiger slam from a tennis perspective. But also to the fact that Djokovic is doing this now and had a chance to set the record for Grand Slams. And like I think about Federer and I think about all those other greats. And Djokovic was starting off like when they were in their prime. It's crazy what these guys are doing. Crazy. But no, Daniil Medvedev, wow, I'm just going to tangent this. He's now number 2 in the world.
Wow.
But yeah, he's not any slouch that Joker showed up to and was like, hey, I just trotted out here and I lost to this dude. No, Medvedev coming up, not seemingly out of nowhere. Dude's number 2 in the world. All right, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning, and I realize that I just bombarded you with way more tennis than you ever wanted to hear on a Monday morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.